Have you ever struggled to make your redstone contraptions work? Have you ever just wanted to learn the basics of being a redstone engineer? Well, you've come to the right place. My name is Lane, and welcome to Redstone 101. Before we get into today's video, I just wanted to start by saying that if you enjoy the concept behind this series and you want to see more videos like this, please be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel, and turn on that notification bell so you don't miss out on any future content. Now that we're done with that, we can go ahead and get started with today's video. Alright, so what is Redstone 101? Well, Redstone 101 is a little side series that I'm wanting to start here on the channel. There's a lot of you who have been watching my videos for a while now who don't really know a whole lot about Redstone, and then there are some of you who've been watching this channel for a while now and you probably know 10 times more than I do about it. But I feel like this would be a great introduction to some of you for using Redstone and things like that. And yeah, I really just kind of wanted to, I guess teach a little bit about it. So you're going to learn everything from simple things like what are these components to the actual contraptions. So everything from redstone dust, repeaters, comparators, and everything like that, all the way up to actually making some of these contraptions. Today's video won't feature any of the redstone contraptions or anything like that, but it will be going over the redstone components so you guys can get the gist of the basics of that. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing that we're going to look at is going to be the redstone dust, which we have right here in front of us. And essentially, redstone dust is basically like the wiring that is inside of your house. Think of it that way. You have wires running all through your walls and everything. It powers the lights and everything else. That's essentially what this is. There's two different forms of this. You have the split form where it looks a bit like this, and this kind of connects up in all the directions. And then you have this form here, which is the dot, which we will discuss the dot later on. But right now we're just going to mainly worry about this because this is the most used form of it anyway. Now, redstone dust, it can be extended up to 15 blocks maximum. And whenever it is powered on, you can see that it sends a power signal. The further you go with the redstone dust line, the weaker the signal goes. You can see how back here it's a little bit lighter and how up here it's a little bit darker. This means that this is getting weaker. But as long as it's within that 15 block range, if you put a device next to it that can be powered by redstone, it will turn on, just like this piston did here. And yeah, that's basically how redstone dust works. So to recap, redstone dust has a maximum signal strength of up to 15 blocks long, and when it's connected to a power source, it can power on another block that is completely usable by redstone. Alright, and the next thing that we're going to look at is going to be the redstone torch, which looks a little something like this right here. And as I just shown you a minute ago with this redstone dust, it essentially is a power source. As you can see with the redstone here, it is powered on, and you can place something else to it and it will turn on, or you can place something up just directly against it and it will turn on. And yeah, that's basically all there is to the torch. It can be turned on or off with a lever or things like that, and this can be used in combination with redstone dust or these repeaters or anything else really. And yeah, that's basically it for the torch. So the next component that I'm going to show you is the redstone repeater, which looks something like this. And basically these repeaters have taken over the role of being used in clocks and things like that, which you will learn about that later on. And these can be used to extend the redstone signal as well. Now these redstone repeaters, they have only got a signal strength of up to 15 blocks long. So you can see that if I power this on, it goes all the way over to 15 blocks, and at block 16, it no longer works. But you can remedy this by grabbing another repeater, and you can add this in over here at the end, and you can see it is still powered, and it basically resets the power, and you can keep going from there like that. And you can add the delay in by using this tick feature right here, which we're not going to go over right now, but we will show you that in future tutorials and things like that. So to recap, the redstone repeater has a signal strength of up to 15 blocks. It is commonly used in redstone clocks, and it is commonly used to add delay into contraptions and things like that. And it can also be used to extend the signal strength as well. Alright, so the next component is the absolute bane of my existence. It is the redstone comparator, and this is what the comparator looks like. So the comparator basically deserves an episode all on its own because it can be so complicated to use, but essentially this side of it here will be placed up against something else. If I have a chest here with items in it, it can read that and it can put out a signal strength based off of what is in it. And it has a subtraction mode if you click it like this, and it can do some fancy math stuff and kind of change the signal strength based off of that. And there are a few other uses, but again, I will probably save this for an episode in the future. This next contraption is the observer, and the observer is a pretty common thing to use in Redstone, and it will definitely be featured more on this channel going forward with tutorials. It's pretty much in just about everything that I build. So there are two different ways of looking at the observer. This side here is the face of it. You can see it because it looks like it has eyes. And then this side of it is the butt of the observer. And this basically tells you when something changes on the observer. So for instance, if I place something down in front of it, you can see it powers up like that. And then if I remove it, it powers up again because it just senses a change in the block in front of it. And that's exactly how it works. These are very, very useful tools to have. And like I said, you will definitely see more of them on the channel going forward. The next thing on the list are the pistons, which look a little something like this. There are two different variants of the piston, like you can see here. There's one that is the regular one, and then this one here, which is the sticky one. They both perform the same thing, where they will both extend if they are powered on, and when they are powered off, they will both retract. The difference between them is that the sticky piston will push and pull items, like so, where the regular piston will just push it, and that's it. It won't pull it back. It is a pretty simple thing to have, and it is a pretty common thing to use, especially in farms like the bamboo farm and the sugarcane farm, as you see in the background there. And they've got many, many, many uses, and you will definitely see more of them on the channel as well. Alright, so let's recap what we just went over. The comparator, it's just a headache, plain and simple. The observer, it simply observes, and it has two different faces. The one face, it actually reads what's going on in front of it, and then the other is the butt of it, and it shows the redstone signal when it is powered. Then lastly are the set of pistons. The regular piston, it just pushes an item, it does not pull. And the sticky piston, it pushes and it pulls the item. One other thing to note about the pistons is that you can use the slime blocks and the honey blocks in combination with the pistons to move around other items and stuff like that, but I don't really have much experience in that, so we'll save that topic for another day. And now we're going to go on to talking about items that can be activated by using redstone. We're going to start this section off with the dispenser, which looks a little something like this. Now the dispenser is a pretty common item to have in redstone contraptions. Basically what it does is if it has certain items in it, like an arrow, it'll shoot it out, or if it has like a water bucket, it will pour out the water or things like that. And it can be activated just simply by adding a redstone signal to it. You can see on the inside here that I've got arrows put inside of it. And if I connect it up to redstone, you will see that it will shoot out an arrow. And if you set it up to a clock, it will keep doing that. Or if you just, turn off the power, it will stop. The next thing on the list is the dropper. The dropper does basically the same thing as the dispenser, but instead of dispensing the items as you seen a second ago, it simply drops the items. So as you can see, I've got a stack of arrows in there, and I can basically turn it on and it will just drop the item instead. And you can set it up also to a clock as well, and it basically functions just the same as the dispenser, it just drops instead. The final thing in this section is the redstone lamp, and essentially it just operates as a lamp. You turn it on and it illuminates the area, and that's basically all there is to that, but it also can power adjacent items. So if I stack lamps to the side like this, you'll see that it powers up all of them right there. So let's go back over what we were just talking about. The dispenser and the dropper are essentially the same thing, but the dispenser can literally dispense certain items, such as water buckets, arrows, and things of that nature, where the dropper, it does not dispense anything, it literally just drops the items. And then the redstone lamp, it is basically just a lamp. It can turn on when it is powered on, and it will turn off when there is no signal to it at all, and it can power adjacent things. And now we are on to the next segment, which is advanced redstone inputs. We are starting with the daylight detector, which looks a little something like this. The daylight detector has two different modes. It has a daytime mode, which you see here, and then it has nighttime mode, which is like this. And essentially, it will put out a redstone signal when it detects that time of day. So you can see here, it is on day mode, and it puts out a redstone signal, where if it's on night mode, it isn't. Next thing on the list is the tripwire hook, which looks like this. Now when the tripwire hook is not connected as you see here, it looks like this, the arm is up. When you connect it with the wire, it faces it kind of down, it's parallel with the ground. And then when you step on it, it faces towards the ground, like so. When you step off of it, it goes back up. And basically, when you step on it, it sends out a redstone signal that could turn on another item or something like that. And yeah, that's basically all there is to the tripwire hook. The next thing here is going to be the target block. Now the target block works a little differently than the other items. And basically, whenever you hook up a line of redstone or things like that, it gets powered on by how close to the center you get a projectile. So whether you fire an arrow or throw a snowball at it or whatever. Like if you see me throw it at the corner here, it'll power on so far. But if I hit it right in the middle, it'll power on even more. Now I didn't set this redstone up long enough to really demonstrate it too much, but you kind of get the idea. So you really want the strongest signal to come from the bullseye of the target, and the weaker signals to come from the outer edge of the target. And next up is the lectern. Now the lectern is one that kind of surprised me because I didn't really know that it could send out a redstone signal until recently. I've never used it before, but basically with a book and quill on top of it, it can put out a redstone signal as you're flipping through the pages and whatnot. I didn't really know that it could be used for redstone, but I am kind of glad to know that it can be. It might be fun to use for traps or anything like that in your multiplayer worlds going forward, but I'm not really going to demonstrate anything with it now because I don't really know what all it can be used for, so that'll be something we save for another day. Next up is the lightning rod. The lightning rod is literally just that. It is a rod to connect with lightning. That is all there is to it. It puts out a signal once it is struck by lightning. That's basically all I have for this section, so a quick recap on that. The daylight detector, it sends out a redstone signal based on what time of day it is. The tripwire hook, it sends out a signal once the tripwire is stepped on. The target block, it sends out a signal that is based off of where you hit the target block with a projectile. The lectern, it sends out a redstone signal somehow with a book and quill. And then the lightning rod, it sends out a signal when it gets struck by lightning. And now we are on to the last segment of today's video, and that is going to be the actual inputs themselves. So these are the inputs here, and we are just going to briefly discuss them and how they are used. We're going to start here with the lever. The lever is basically used like your average light switch. You flick it on or off, and it will power on or off whatever device you are looking to make. And then the buttons here, they look the same aside from the material, but they do function a little differently. So the wood buttons can be used by any variants of the wood, and the stone buttons should be used by the stone variants. Now, the wood button lasts a little bit longer than the stone. So you see if I hit the wood one, it lasts a little bit longer than that one. Now, the next ones are going to be the pressure plates. There are no differences in the stone or the wood pressure plates in terms of duration. They both kind of last about the same amount of time. And then the last ones are the iron one, I did not mean to break it, and the gold one. The iron and the gold one, they kind of differ a little bit. They are mainly used with like certain weights and things like that. They are pretty uncommon. I've never actually seen them used in any redstone contraptions myself. But yeah, so they are a little different, and we probably will not use too many of them in our builds going forward. We'll mainly stick with these other two, or probably the lever the most. It is recap time yet again. We just discussed the inputs. The lever, it powers things on or off, kind of like a light switch. The buttons, they have two different variants. There's the wood and the stone variants. The wood lasts a little bit longer than the stone variants and can be made by any variants of the wood itself. And the stone has the normal stone one or the black stone buttons. And then there are the pressure plates, which operate the same as the buttons, except they just get stepped on instead of pressed. And they also have the stone and the wood variants as well. Then there's the iron and the gold pressure plates. It's the same as before, but it detects the item weight as well, and they are pretty uncommonly used. Alright my friends, I think that just about does it for today's episode. If you have any specific tutorials or anything like that that you would like me to cover, please be sure to let me know by dropping them in the comments below. And also be sure to leave a like on the video if you enjoyed today's video and really would like to see more videos in this style. And subscribe to the channel if you are new, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss out on any future content. My name is Lane, and I will see you guys next time. Goodbye everybody!